Hello chess friends and welcome to Jozarov chess channel and welcome back to our best chess games of all time series. So in this series we're following the best of the best chess games that have been ever played in chess history. And today I wanted to show really an incredible game back from 1996, back from the Las Palmas chess event between two former world champions, between two legends of the sport. Today we're analyzing really an epic game between Vladimir Kramnik and Viswanathan Anand. So this game is really incredible. It has everything. Great opening three, really cool immortal tactics in the middle game stage, but also then cool endgame techniques. So pay good attention. It was, in my opinion, really one of the best games from the 90s of the last century. So let's see now what happened with the white pieces. Vladimir Kramnik opened with the move knight to f3. We have knight to f6 by Vichy, and now after move c for the English opening. Now we have this Queen's Indian approach by Vichy Anand. So what Vichy is trying to get is maybe after something like d4 to get the normal idea of the Queen's Indian, e6, bishop to b4, then simply d5, knight to e4, maybe d6, knight to d7. So the Queen's Indian has, of course, its own flexibility. You can maybe play many sidelines, but with the move g3 that Kramnik play, he's avoiding now the normal idea of d4. d4 would lead probably, as I said, into the normal ideas of the Queen's Indian. Now he's still waiting with this d-pawn move. He's not playing that immediately. After bishop to b7 and bishop to g2, we have, of course, this immediate competition of the light square bishop on this long diagonal. We have now the move e6, so still Vichy is playing on the normal ideas, as I said, of the Queen's Indian defense, but still Kramnik is avoiding to play the move d4. So bishop to e7, knight to c3, kingside castling, and now rook to e1, preparing even the move e4. So now Vladimir Kramnik is changing the structure a little bit. He's trying now to play e4 and then maybe d4. Then he would have three connected pawns, c4, d4, e4, and then he could maybe play aggressively in the center of the board. So that's why here Vichy battles immediately for the center of the board with the move d5. C takes d, knight to d5, e4, knight takes c3, now b takes c3 is now a different story. Now the d4 move that Vladimir Kramnik delayed is actually supported by the c3 pawn. So even if you compete with the move c5 and after move d4, c takes d4, you could have two connected pawns in the center of the board. Good, really nice, really opening theory here by Vladimir Kramnik. So now comes c5. Here Vichy is battling for the d4 square, but you see Kramnik has a great preparation. Now he can break and enter and have this beautiful central control. Knight to d7, we have bishop to f4, getting use of the maximum activity now of the dark square bishop. And now what basically Kramnik is trying to do, he's trying to play queen to e2, maybe rook to d1, supporting simply his powerful two pawns in the center of the board, the d4 and e4 pawn, and then later maybe to break and enter with the move d5. So we have c takes d4, c takes d4. We have now this powerful center, knight to f6, and now knight to e5, protecting, of course, the weak e4 pawn. So bishop to b4 hits the rook, and now rook to e3. And it's a strange, of course, setup that you have your rook like this, but actually I think Vichy Anand helped out a little bit Kramnik here. He basically activated his rook. Now the rook from e3 will eventually come to d3, and when that happens, I think the d5 goal is the main tactical and strategic goal here of white, to simply push the pawn d5, and then, as we said, rook to d3, support, creating a rook and queen battery on the d5. And what I really like about white's position is that white has a good activity with all of these minor pieces. With all pieces, we can even support the further d5 progress. So from this point on, I think this game slips a little bit in white's favor, because I think this rook on d3 will be really beautiful piece in the middle game stage. So rook to c8 here played by Vichy Anand. He's activating also his last piece, getting use of the only open file on the c file. We have now immediately the move d5 by Vladimir Kramnik, really a beautiful dynamic move. We have e takes d5, and now what can you do? For instance, if you play knight to d5, then you're falling into an amazing trap, which of course Viswanathan sensed, and he didn't play the move knight to d5, but I really wanted to show you how brutal brutal the game would have been if you played knight to d5. Of course, we ask ourselves the question, why is black not taking out now the pawn on d5? Because rook to d3 is going to happen. And now look at this. You can maybe support the defense of the d5 knight, but now queen to b3 leads into complications for black. Rook to d1, rook from a to d1 is now the huge threat to continue the pressure now on the d file. Of course, black will probably play something like g5, bishop to e3, and now with the move rook to c3, it seems so that maybe black can protect everything, because we have now twice protected this rook on c3, but actually here white is amazing and cool counterplay. Bishop to d5 would be here the winning move, because after rook to b3, bishop takes f7, comes with a check. You have to take it out, and now rook to d8, you can cover. Rook to f8, rook takes f8, and now for king to f8, we can pick up now the rook on b3, and the game is over here for black. White is having up a whole rook, so it's not possible to make anything anymore for black in this particular position. So you see, after move e takes d5, Vlad prepared here really cool tactics. Of course, Vishy, as I said, didn't fall for this, but this could have been already a game over here for black if you fall for this. So here, bishop to d6 was played by Vishy Anand, and I think this move really makes sense, because you're playing with the black pieces in this blockade idea, because we have an isolated pawn position now from white's perspective, so it's really a dynamic pawn. But one of the best goals to play against the isolated pawn is to create a blockade. So I think this move by Vishy Anand makes sense, but Vladimir Kramnik is still trying to spice up the game. He's trying now to somehow create a really an unbalanced position, because as we said, he has a good activity. Now after move knight to c6, what you could do here is maybe to play the move bishop to c6 like Vishy Anand played. But now what can you do? Of course, Kramnik plays bishop takes d6. Now after move queen to d6 that you could play, this wouldn't be so good, I think, because now look at this. C takes d6 leads into complications now for black. You can maybe trade off the queens, but both of these rooks would be on the most active files. This pawn is supported by the bishop. Your knight is a little bit misplaced. The knight is out of game, and I think in the near future, if for instance somehow these two rooks come on the 7th rank, this could be a devastating now game for black. So that's why I move bishop to d6. Here queen to d6 wasn't the move that Vishy Anand played. He tried now also to battle now. He tried now to get rid of this bishop on c6, and he attacked now simply the queen. And what Vishy Anand now hoped for is that, of course, here Vladimir Kramnik picks up now the bishop, and now after move queen to d6, again, he could play on this blockade idea. And look at this. Now in this potential endgame, the bishop would be simply stuck, would be simply blocked out by its own pawn structure, and now black could hope for some maneuvers, knight to d7 now, knight to c5. Or, for instance, if something like queen to a7 happens here, then actually, look at this, black can actually pick up now the pawn on d5. This was also a nice, cool tactic that here Vishy Anand prepared, because if you play now here something like rook to d3, then the problem is now this one. Queen to f6 hits, of course, the rook on a1, or if you play something like rook to d1 here, then actually you're losing even the game, because after knight to e3, you can maybe pick up the queen. But now look at this, rook to c1 is even an amazing checkmate. So it was also very dirty trap that now here Vishy Anand prepared against Vladimir Kramnik after move here bishop to a4. But Vladimir Kramnik didn't fall for this. He played now really an incredible move. Now comes the stunner of the game here. Vlad plays bishop takes f8. Really wild stuff. He sacks the queen. Now we have bishop to e7, kicking away the queen. The queen drops back, and now rook to d1 played by Kramnik, and he has now the rook and the bishop for the queen. But I would still add this annoying pawn that's rolling now on the d file as a huge tactical element now in the game. It's, I think, a decent compensation. It's, I think, a great compensation for Vladimir Kramnik, and especially because this pawn that's rolling is supported. It's supported by the bishop. It's supported by the rook, and now basically black is out of game. Really stunning tactic. So here Vishy Anand tried again to block out somehow the further progress of the pawn with the move knight to d7. Here we have bishop to h3 hitting the knight, and now after move h6, this was now probably even the main mistake now by Vishy Anand. From this point on, I think Vladimir Kramnik is really taking over. He here black has to play more actively. He has to play queen to c2, forcing basically this rook to retreat to e1, and now here you can play a very nice aggressive move, knight to e5, even maybe threatening the move something like knight to f3. For instance, black can be challenged in this way, bishop to c8, but now knight to f3, now we takes, and now maybe with queen to d7, again this blockade idea, you can survive this very aggressive attack of white. So as I said, queen to c2 must move now for Viswanathan, but he played now this slightly passive move, h6, and now Vlad uses this moment immediately. He plays now bishop to f5, and this was very incredible move. For instance, here b5 was played by Vishy, simply trying to get also something here on the queen side, maybe creating a passer, but now bishop to b4, Kramnik is creating the block, and he's trying furthermore make progress d6, and also rook to e7 is now the huge threat to somehow pin the knight further on d7. Rook to d8, now comes this idea rook to e7, and now for instance if you play g6, look how brutal really this position is. Then you get this one, bishop to e6. This would be the winning move. Viswanathan didn't play the move g6, but I wanted to show you what happens if you even kick away this bishop. So many dirty ideas are possible here for white. After move bishop to e6, to f takes e6, now d takes e6. Again, this pawn, this most annoying pawn is rolling now on the e file. This knight will be taken, and the pawn will eventually get here even on the 7th rank. Again, supported by the rooks, again supported by the bishop. This could be really, again, a devastating game. So here after move rook to e7, so as we said, queen to c4 was played by Viswanathan. He's trying now to attack also the bishop, but now rook to d7, rook takes d7, bishop to d7, queen takes b4, but now this pawn is rolling, and again it's supported by the rook and also by the bishop. So queen to a4, we have rook to d3, queen to e4, and now here bishop to b5, hitting the pawn and also protecting now here the rook on d3. Instead of this move queen to e4, you could play maybe king to f8, but again, I don't think it's bringing you anything. We just create some breathing spaces for the king. Now again, bishop to c8, d7, and now rook to e3, rook to e8 are of course huge threats. You could maybe try queen to a2, but now as we said, this kind of a tactic would happen. I think this is playable. You simply stop the progress of this pawn, get the king closer, and this should be, of course, I think a completely winning endgame here for white. So that's why queen to e4, as we said here by Viswanathan, but now of course bishop to b5. You have some checks, but nothing spectacular. Here after move king to f1, and now Vishy delivered another check. Vlad steps back after a couple of perpetuals, again a new check. After move f3 and queen to h3 and d7, here in this particular position Vishy Anand resigns. So you could have played probably some more checks, but as I said, this progress of the d pawn is simply unstoppable. It was probably one of the greatest d pawns, the greatest isolated d pawns that we have seen in our lives. Very incredible active play here by Vladimir Kramnik, sacking the queen. Let's go really to this critical moment. Bishop to f8, sacking the queen on d1, getting attack against the queen, picking up the bishop, and letting this pawn roll here on the d file. So incredible game played by Vladimir Kramnik here. Really great game for sure, and we know how many amazing games they have played through their career, especially also this great World Chess Championship match that Viswanathan won against Kramnik, and these are really the legends of the sport. Still, they're playing very active chess, very aggressive chess. Vladimir Kramnik played also great tournament now in this chess without castling. Viswanathan, for instance, played great games now in the recent Rapid Chess Championships and similar stuff. So these two guys can play, but sometimes, you know, Vishy wins the game, sometimes Kramnik wins the game, but their games have been always amazing with cool and immortal tactics in the middle game stage. So, okay, I hope that you enjoyed this game. I really enjoyed it a lot. Cool game for sure. If you want to see more amazing games like this, check out our Best Chess Games of All Time series. Here's the link of our playlist, and if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos, and what do we say? Chess is the best, of course.